Health and Hospitals Capital Committee. Today's meeting is officially called to order. Please note for the record that Karen Sanhilier is representing Molly Wasso Park in a voting capacity. So I would like to propose a motion to adopt the minutes of the Capital Committee meeting held on June 16th, 2025. All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, say no. So the motion is to adopt the minutes is accepted. So next we will hear the Vice President's report, Mr. Saiz.
Good morning, everybody. At New York City Health and Hospitals Queens, the interventional radiology suite renovation project is complete. The project modernized and expanded the IR suite from 580 square feet to 900 square feet. The new suite includes a larger procedure room, control room, and equipment closets, while adding a new dressing room, radiographic room, and CT scan vitals room. The completion of this project will allow for more efficient patient flow and allow our staff to provide better patient care. At New York City Health and Hospitals Lincoln, Phase 1 of the garage renovation project has been complete, and Phase 2 has begun. The project is to update and refresh the current garage, which is original to New York City Health and Hospitals Lincoln and has been in service since 1976. The project was phased to ensure that all parking garage remain open for staff and visitors, and is expected to be completed in the spring of 2026. That's a very important project. Happy to take any questions.
Just notice that it's a big garage.
It's a big garage.
How many cars were found that were not ours?
Exact numbers, Dr. Katz, I can't tell you, but
It's a very large number of cars
it
that
was considerable, yes.
did not belong in that garage that we were able, through Manny's work, to move out.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you for your report. Let's move on to the resolution. So
Great. For capital consideration, authorizing New York City Health and Hospitals, the system, to sign a 5-year lease with a 5-year renewal option exercisable by the system with Mikhail Kantias, landlord, for the use of 4,000 total square feet located on the first floor and basement of the building at 7918 164th Street, Jamaica, New York. The premises by New York City Health and Hospitals Queens for a WIC and administrative functions at an initial rent of $37.91 rentable square feet and $4.91 for operating expenses, or a total of $171,237 per year, which will increase by 2.5% every year for a total over the 10-year term of $1,978,591. Next slide. This is an overview of WIC programs for the system, which provide nutrition and services to pregnant and breastfeeding and postpartum women, infants, and children of less than 5 years of age. WIC is a federally state-run program, and there are offices across the system. Next slide. This office provides services at the zip codes listed. These communities are served by 2 locations by Health and Hospitals Queens. This particular location serves 2,500 clients and has been in operation at this space since 2012. Queens Hospital also uses a portion of the space now for 1,900 square feet for administrative purposes and not WIC. Next slide for the lease terms. New York City Health and Hospitals Queens will continue to occupy 4,000 square feet at 7918 164th Street, Jamaica, Queens. A 5-year lease term will commence upon execution of the lease with one 5-year option for renewal. Base rent is $37.91 square feet to escalate 2.5% a year, with operating expenses billable at $4.91 a square foot to escalate 2.5% per year. Utilities are billed as used. The system will hold an option to terminate the lease at the end of the 5th year if DOH WIC program grant is not continued. To exercise such termination option, the system shall pay a termination fee equal to 3 months' rent. The total occupancy fee for base rent over the potential 10-year term will be approximately $1.9 million. You can see the schedule by year below. Please let me know if you have any questions. Here is the resolution for committee approval.
okay, any questions?
Yeah, hi for you.
Two things. One, the Queens Hospital administrative purposes, is that included in our
So the space includes the WIC program, which has the Queens Hospital has occupied this space since 2012. They lease the whole space for the WIC program. Subsequently, they've realized they don't need the whole of the space for the WIC program. So we subdivided the space with the landlord so that almost half the rent is billed to the WIC program, and 19,000 square feet is billed to an administrative program at Queens Hospital. So it's still slight majority for the WIC program, but Queens admin uses the other part, which helps with crowding at the hospital campus.
So if we were to terminate, say, if the WIC program were discontinued or something like that, we would be able to bifurcate that space.
We could,
It's that the administrative functions would take on the
The
rest of the space.
I
So,
see.
so it's, in a way, it's a good thing because we mitigate our risk. And that's, you know, the WIC programs are obviously, you know, kind of problematic now. And so we have that at a couple of places
Yep.
where the hospital has said, well, if we can't run the particular hospital, if we can't run a WIC program,
We don't need the
we can
space.
always use it for
Oh.
administrative space.
Oh,
So
good.
it's not ideal, but it is a way to cushion the, you know, as I say, mitigate the risk.
right, so were we to lose the grant, the termination clause allows complete termination of the space, but if it's administratively, functionally helpful, that option is there and they're already inhabiting part of the space. This space, if we go back 2 slides, you can see it's one long block from the campus. It's very proximate, so it's very functional for the hospital to deal with, to take some administrative space out of the hospital and use that space for clinical care in the hospital.
That was my main concern with all of the stuff going on. And is there anything that's actually targeting the WIC programs right now? That
I don't think we could speak to it. I don't know.
We can have that question answered for you by the WIC program, by Dr. Wilcox.
Or by our IGA group.
Yeah.
you know, Deborah Brown.
Right. And Jeremy, you said the other facilities we have are in similar situations where.
Well, we just, we just concluded an agreement for a WIC site on Ellery Street in Brooklyn. The board approved it,
January.
quite a few months ago. So that is so close to Woodhull that the Woodhull administration has said they feel comfortable that if they lost the WIC grant, they would take it over for administrative space. And actually, Woodhull is considering the possibility of looking at other space in the building. For that hasn't happened, though no decision has been made, but they're interested in the building. It's very close to them, so that's a nice thing.
And the original for that space, which the board approved in January on Ellery Street, Woodhull was interested in moving the WIC program off their campus to deal with crowding so that the administrative space was freed up within the building and could be switched over to clinical uses.
Okay.
So,
Great, thank you.
Any other questions? So all in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, say no. Resolution approved. Thank you. Next one.
we're reading it in the first 2 slides.
2.
Oh, we can recover?
Yeah. Oh, it's
Mott
Lincoln
Haven.
Recovery, sorry, all right.
Mott Haven.
Authorizing New York City Health and Hospital, sorry, the system to sign a sorry. I turned to the wrong page. I got it. Authorizing New York City Health and Hospitals Corporation to sign a 49-year ground lease with 2 25-year renewal options of a property located at 349 East 140th Street, Block 2303, Lot 58 in the Bronx. The property to Mott Haven Port Morris Community Land Stores, Inc., tenant, for a sum of $1 per year to develop the property, providing that specific conditions continue to be met regarding the use of the property for the benefit of the community as a community center with a preference for programming focused on education, arts, culture, and with a required health and wellness element. Next slide. This is the Lincoln Recovery Building at 349 140th Street. It's presently vacant, and it's proposed to be used as a community center. Next slide. The old Lincoln Recovery Building was opened in the 1970s and closed in 2012. It's a vacant 22,740 square foot structure in poor condition. EDC issued an RFP in 2022 to select the Mott Haven Port Morris Community Land Storage proposal, comprehensive renovation of the space to be the Hearts Community Center, Health, Education, and the Arts. Next slide. The team is really well regarded in the community, and it has built up over the last 10 years support for the use of this structure for self-determination and as an art space. Alembic is their partner, which is a development entity that does affordable housing and community facilities, that has developed properties over 2,500 affordable housing and supportive housing units and 300,000 square feet of commercial space. Next slide. And their proposed program is to create a community center focused on arts and wellness that includes education, workforce development, music, and events, a lot of incredible programming. This project has had significant community and elected support, and the program and physical design were developed through a multi-year engagement process. Next slide. The total cost of the building rehabilitation is $42.3 million. The system is not going to contribute to the cost of construction or operations. That said, there is quite a bit of public funding in this rehabilitation, $15.25 million in city capital from a range of sources, and $27 million in state and federal tax credit, equity, and grants. Next slide. The ground lease process began in June 18th, 2025, and will lead to ground lease execution in the winter of 2025. Next slide. So just the lease terms, the Mott Haven Port Morris Community Land Storage will renovate and occupy the Lincoln Recovery Center at 349 East 140th Street, a 22,750 square foot, 3-story structure. The term is a 49-year ground lease with 2 25-year renewal options to commence upon execution. The requirements are that the tenant substantially improve the existing building through $43 million of rehabilitation. The tenant will operate the building as the Hearts Community Center, Health, Education, and the Arts. Tenant will sublease space to other community-based entities with H&H approval. Subtenants will provide community-based programming complementary to the programming of the Mott Haven Port Morris Community Land Stewards, and the base rent is $1 per year. Any questions before we discuss the resolution? Yeah.
Just one question on the 2 25-year renewals. Is there any conditions around that, or is it just at their option? Or?
They're just options for renewal. Obviously, they have to be compliant with the terms of the ground lease. So,
which includes the beneficial use, the community benefit.
Yeah, the community beneficial use and maintaining the building in a good state of repair.
I think it's a terrific project. We were at the public hearing and just really wonderful. So great use of our unused space. So.
Have we ever been to a public hearing on land use that was as positive as that hearing? Never, never on land use.
Very strong community support. Thank you. Okay, let's take it up for a vote. All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, say no. So resolution approved. Thank you so much. Next one, third one.
For consideration, authorizing New York City Health and Hospitals to sign a 99-year ground lease, including tenant options, with River Commons Housing Development Fund Company, Inc., as named tenant, and River Commons Owners, LLC, as the beneficial tenant, together the tenant, to rent approximately 42,000 square feet, which is currently part of the parking lot and annex structure of New York City Health and Hospitals Gotham Morrisania at 1225 Girard Avenue in the Bronx, New York, known as the facility, to be the site for the construction of a 17-story, 359,000 square foot mixed-use building, known as the building, with approximately 328 residential units for households earning less than 80% of AMI income, including approximately 98 supportive housing units for single adults who are qualified and appropriate for independent living in the community, and approximately 230 affordable units, including a residential unit for the building superintendent, with approximately 6,000 square feet to be provided for the community facility use, and approximately 7,500 square feet to be provided for open space, with the tenant anticipated to pay at least $4 million on lease signing as a one-time advance rent and an annual administrative fee of $12,000. And further authorizing New York City Health and Hospitals to sign a sublease with RC Health Master Tenant LLC, the tenant's affiliate subtenant, the sublandlord, for approximately 43,000 square feet on the cellar, first, second floors of the building, known as the Gotham Expansion Clinic, to be used by New York City Health and Hospitals at the facility for its clinical operations, and a parking facility accommodating approximately 75 parking spaces for the use of the facility staff and patients, known as the garage, at a rental rate calculated to pass through to New York City Health and Hospitals only its 16.29% share of the costs to operate the building, which is currently estimated to be approximately $90,000 per annum. Now we can talk about the project. So just a brief overview, and say a little bit about why we're doing this work. This project really is the first of its kind because it brings together a lot of unique aspects in the vision of health and housing. And it brings in a multitude of aspects of the Housing for Health program, which connects our patients experiencing homelessness to housing supports and opportunities. Um, our patients in particular who are unhoused, are less likely to access primary care and more likely to use the emergency department, have very long inpatient stays. Housing for Health treats patients' social needs in a few ways, and they're listed on the right. We have a medical respite program, we have housing navigation services, and we think strategically how we can use our land for affordable and supportive housing. All of these ways have a system-wide and interagency approach to get the work done. And through the end of fiscal year 25, we've stably housed nearly 1,500 patients and their families, and I've also have a queue of 1,000 referrals for housing navigation program. We've seen significant reduction in healthcare utilization, emergency department use, and inpatient length of stay. But this project is unique because it creates dedicated opportunities for our patients as well as affordable housing for the community and a future opportunity to navigate our patients to the housing and, of course, expand the Gotham services. Next slide, please. Just for a background, we do have a history of using our land for a public purpose. We historically partnered with other agencies to increase the housing supply for the city. But today, we have more resources than ever to navigate our patients to the housing, which we haven't had in the past. Next slide, please. I'm going to turn it to Deborah. She's going to talk about the specifics of this project and related to the ground lease terms and the sublease back, which I read into the record.
Sure. So this is Gotham Morrisania, which is our busiest clinic, Gotham clinic in the system. It's composed of two buildings, the main building on Girard Avenue, which is the light blue, and the annex building, which is the rear structure, as well as a large surface parking lot. It's presently used as healthcare and parking, and the proposed use is development of affordable housing, expansion space for Gotham, and community facility space. Next slide. So this is a complicated physical building, but it's a really exciting new opportunity where we're going to, working with a development partner and HPD, there will be development of a new 328 unit building that is built on the parking lot and space of the building annex, so the annex will need to be demolished. And the building will include a 43,000 square foot modern clinical space, as well as 75 car parking facility for Gotham, 328 units of residential space, as well as 6,000 square feet for community facility for the African Resource and Bronx Works. This also includes development of a community facility space and is fulfilling the goals of the mayor's plan for housing for health and our system pillar. Next slide. Just to give you a sense of the existing conditions, there's on the upper left a picture of the surface parking garage. Also, River Avenue has a very significant grade change, so you see the retaining wall holding up the parking garage presently, which will be replaced by this new modern building with healthcare uses and housing and a large public space. Next slide. This is the development team selected to do this work. Next slide. The project timeline is, I think, is really significant to note because there was a significant initiative beginning in 2018 with the Jerome Avenue neighborhood plan and rezoning, which identified the Gotham Morrisania parking lot for housing. And over time, this shifted to include this improved, expanded space for Gotham. And the goal is to have the project start construction in 2026 with a completion date in 2029. Next slide. This is our ground lease process, which began with notice in June 5th, 2025, and we're here today at Capital Committee and ground lease execution hopefully at the end of this year. This is the proposed mix of units and affordability and resources for the residential tenants, including the supportive housing, the 98 supportive housing units for eligible H&H patients. Next slide. And here I really want to spend a moment to talk about the advantages of this project and features of this project for Gotham Morrisania. Again, we're going to at the end of construction, have a 43,000 square foot new clinical space that, in addition to the space that will continue to operate on Girard Avenue, there's no disruption in clinical services. Administrative spaces in the main building were renovated in order to accommodate relocated services from the annex, which will be demolished. There's complete continuity of care during construction. The clinic currently serves approximately 50,000 patients annually. There will be convenient staff parking provided nearby off-site, and then parking in the new site upon construction completion. Next slide. This project is funded with $252 million in different kinds of public funding, and is governed by an HPD regulatory agreement and mortgage. There's also funding from HRA to provide on-site management services. The Gotham Expansion Clinic, we will be coming back to the board for the fit-out design with a not-to-exceed number, but the core and shell of the clinic will be provided as part of this overall construction budget. Next slide. So here are the lease terms. It's 99 years, including tenant options, a ground lease for a 42,000 square foot area that includes the space that is presently occupied by the surface parking and the 15,000 square foot annex building of Gotham Morrisania's clinic. The tenant is required to finance and construct a 359,000 square foot mixed-use building, including approximately 328 apartments with affordability pursuant to HPD requirements, including 98 supportive housing units, as well as a 43,000 square foot healthcare facility and a 75-car parking garage, a 6,000 square foot community facility space, and a 7,000 square foot public plaza. The ground lease fee is a one-time payment of at least $4 million at lease signing. The ground lease rent is $1 per year after year 15 if there is excess cash that can flow to in limited payments to H&H. And there's a ground lease administration fee of $12,000 per year. Next, there is a sublease back for the clinic and the parking, a term of 99 years. H&H will sublease back from the developer for H&H's use approximately 43,000 square feet on the cellar, first and second floors to operate expanded services for Gotham Morrisania. The sublease back from the developer shall include a 75-car parking garage for staff parking, and the landlord will design and build the space for tenant specifications. The sublease rent payable by H&H to owner will be a pass-through of H&H's prorated share, approximately 16% of the building's operating expenses, or approximately $90,000 annually, exclusive of capital financing or financing costs. The Gotham Expansion Clinic's fit-out costs are in design, and we will return to board with a not-to-exceed value soon. And these are the two resolutions. We're happy to take any questions.
Again, just an amazing project. We were at the public hearing. Also,
Second most
Yes.
positive
Right.
hearing we've ever had on a public land use.
Definitely.
exactly, and just a really creative use of the space and getting Gotham and our most busy clinic more needed space. So just terrific project. So I do have a couple questions. One is just technical. What is the difference between a beneficial and a named tenant? Like,
You want to take it, Jeremy?
You know, these structures are very complicated
Okay.
for the tenants, and they all involve a Housing Development Finance Corporation, HDFC, which is a particular corporate creature in New York formed under the housing finance law, and that entity is entitled to various breaks in taxes and
see.
transfer fees and so forth. So
it's sort
all
of
these
legal
developments have an HDFC, and they kind of put that out there as the front entity. But then there's where the control and the money is. And so the control and the money usually resides in an LLC that is kind of the real party. So different deals, they call that different, give it different names, but they say that's the beneficial tenant, meaning really where the power is.
got it.
And so the HDFC is a nominee, and so then all of our obligations and involve both entities.
Right.
And
And it's really the same entity.
it's really the same.
Yeah, the same principles. The org charts are quite complex because of the low-income housing tax credits, and as Jeremy said, because of the benefits that stream to an HDFC are different, because that's considered a nonprofit versus a
LLC.
for-profit.
And for this deal, the developer, this group, very creative and very aggressive in trying to find public money. And so one of the things that they did was take advantage of a new market tax credit structure. So insanely complicated, you know, some roof.
That's Lincoln.
Lincoln.
That's Lincoln.
Oh,
That's all right. A lot of money
A
flowing around.
lot of money. They both have, both this and the prior deal have very complicated
Org
org
charts.
charts.
Structures.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So I was just curious whether they were the same. It's all the same development.
Yes,
Yeah.
indeed. Yes.
And then why is there the sublease structure? Is that the same group too? The sub landlord to us?
yeah, I think that they, for their internal reasons,
Right.
prefer to have the administration of the building kind of our occupancy be in some subsidiary of theirs.
But it's the same parties as well.
It's the same folks.
It's also, they will be creating a condominium structure on the
Right.
project, so that's why it's another entity.
Right, so that we don't pay taxes either.
Okay. Oh, good. You know, that's one of my big things. So I like that kind of structure. And then on the 16% of the costs, that's just based on square footage?
Yes.
Is that-
Yes.
Okay. And that's for like secure, because we're paying our utilities.
Yeah,
and-
it's for like the facade maintenance,
right.
roof,
Got it. Okay.
shared utility maintenance, snowplow.
The building insurance.
Okay. Is there, and I think this might go with this 60-year HBPD agreement. Is that how, like, similar to the Mott Haven, does this lease require them to keep this in an affordable project and?
Well, it does. I mean, the ground lease is going to cross default with the HPD regulatory agreement, and our ground lease will reference the HPD regulatory agreement, particularly as it relates to the supportive housing units, which we're going to have access to. So, the project will have a 60-year regulatory agreement, but almost all the HPD debt, which is probably $120 million of some sorts, will all defer and accrue. So, like, in essence, the project is permanently affordable, right? Like, it would be extremely difficult to pay off. It's all connected, all the,
But once the 60-year regulatory agreement, there's still 40 years left on the lease.
Well, but we also have in our lease requirements about the
supportive and
The
the
supportive and affordable housing.
and about the access for our patients. So both the general affordable and supportive nature of the building, but also the access of our patients.
Let me say it another way, Frida. They're going to have to refinance, and if they're going to have to refinance, it will maintain its affordability, and our requirements for access to the supportive housing will maintain. They could come up with another income tiers for perhaps the non-supportive, but they're going to have to refinance the project. If I have a crystal ball into the future, that's typically what happens.
Right. And so they have to get the approvals and whatnot.
Correct.
Okay. Great. And then in terms of the supportive, so that was a question that we do we have priority in accessing
Yes.
those? Oh,
Yes.
Okay. 'Cause
So
that's
we
not
now-
always been the case in some of our support.
It has not always been the case, but
Right.
now we have the infrastructure to accept referrals within the system, help patients complete supportive housing applications, and then guide them into those units. And we work collaboratively with HRA, the Human Resources Administration, to get that done. But we work within our system to identify and place the people in the housing.
Wonderful thought. Yeah, well put together. One more nit question is on the one-time payment. It said of at least $4 million. Is there a possibility that it would be higher, or is that just?
Yeah, I mean, I
dependent
think
on something?
there are so many things changing in the market, and so we're just waiting to see the final. We have an estimated development budget right now, and so we're waiting to see what the final.
It's like a formula, but it's floored at $4 million, basically.
Yes.
Got it. Okay, great.
Any other questions or comments or? Yeah, I just comment that the hearing went great and people were very supportive and the community was supportive and that's it. So take it up for the vote. All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, say no. Resolution approved. Thank you.
Yeah, we didn't even get to talk about it.
Not till 2029.
I can. It will be worth the wait.
The big rock is the one that is in my mind.
The big rock, yeah.
I gotta see that demolished.
This is Ted's brother. You gotta read the resolution.
All right. So changing gears, I'll start by reading a resolution.
Yes.
Okay. Authorizing New York City Health and Hospitals Corporation, the system, to sign a 3-year lease with 2 one-year options to renew in its sole discretion, with Hudson West Hospitality, LLC, landlord, for the use of the entire Hudson River Hotel, including its 56 rooms and all common areas located at 442 West 36th Street, Manhattan, the hotel, for the system's Bridge to Home program at $185 per room per night for the first 3 years and $190 per night for the renewal years, for a total rental cost of $119,111,400, with $250,000 for potential additional expenses, for a total NTE of $19,361,400. So, to dive into the presentation, you can conceptualize the approach to people experiencing homelessness, especially those with SMI, in 3 different phases. There's the outreach phase, there's the inpatient stabilization phase, and there's what happens after they've been stabilized in the hospital phase. On the outreach side, this is something that, for example, DHS has done an excellent job of for many, many years. On the inpatient stabilization side, that's what we do at Health and Hospitals every day. In fact, we provide 60% of all the behavioral health services in New York City today. And the third phase, though, of once you've been stabilized in the hospital on, for example, a new antipsychotic medication where you then go, this is what this new program seeks to offer: a new opportunity for those with serious mental illness that have just undergone inpatient stabilization. For the program itself, I'll go into more detail, but top line is we want to build a program that has a home-like environment where people with SMI will go after they've been stabilized in the hospital, where they can continue to get ongoing care in the continuum that was started at, for example, Bellevue Hospital, with the same clinical teams from Bellevue Hospital offering continued care to you as a patient on the new site. We're going to have integration with the same EMR, and again, oftentimes will be the same clinical teams from Bellevue itself that will continue to provide you care. The underpinnings of this model are starting with our Housing for Health team. So we know from Housing for Health, from the analyses that we've done, that if you house somebody that has experienced homelessness, they can have a 32% reduction in emergency department use. We also know that when you step foot into one of our, for example, safety net clinics, which started at Bellevue Hospital, you can have a 57% reduction in emergency department use and a 67% reduction in inpatient stays. Putting all of that together, we want to try to wed those 2 pieces together: the success the Housing for Health team has had on the housing side and the success that we've had on the clinical side, and put that into one model going forward. The reality is now, after patients leave the hospital, they're at high risk of fragmentation. We want to plug them into the continuum of care that we already are providing, again, 60% of all behavioral health care across New York City today. This will be another key component of that for people experiencing SMI. There'll be a potentially better place for them to go when they're ready for discharge from the hospital. So going to the next slide. The program itself, again, to be specific, will be for people with serious mental illness. It'll be for people that need ongoing clinical support, which they'll receive on site and in a home-like environment. So this will prepare them for their time that they spend with us to go into permanent housing, where they can be successful and where they can continue to utilize the clinical connections that we've continued to build out for them during their stay at this new site. We anticipate that they plan to stay with us and receive treatment for up to 12 months after they've been discharged from the hospital, as we seek to concurrently connect them with permanent housing going forward. A typical patient's journey story for how we expect this model to be helpful is, again, patients can be admitted to the hospital, and we for decades have done a terrific job at Health and Hospitals of stabilizing them on their antipsychotic medications. But then what happens next is the problem we're trying to solve with this new model, again, for people at the highest risk with serious mental illness. The next step for them once they've been stabilized would be they'd be screened for the Bridge to Home program. we would accept them to the program, and importantly, they would accept us. This is a voluntary program, and we want people to select to want to be there. We then would transition them to the program, where they'll be in the home-like environment, and they'd be receiving ongoing clinical care that would be personalized for them, but with the ultimate goal, of course, of keeping them on the antipsychotic medications that were what was needed to stabilize them in the hospital, keeping them stable outside of the hospital too. Then when they're with us, we're going to complete their housing applications together with Leora and team. And then we'll connect them with permanent housing, which we anticipate will have that 12-month window to make the best connection for them. Next slide. So to provide a few numbers for the model itself, as we seek to serve up to 100 individuals with the first iteration of the model. This site specifically will have 46 rooms that we're going to dedicate, which will be individual rooms for a first cohort of patients coming from the hospital into the new program. The number 100 would come from the addition of a second site, which we have not contemplated yet, but that would be based on the hopeful success of the first site opening soon. So in terms of the money behind the site, OMB has dedicated $6 million for the current fiscal year that we're in. And then for subsequent fiscal years, there's a commitment to $12.9 million for each year, which again would cover 2 sites for around 100 individuals at any given moment in steady state going forward. Wanted to just emphasize this last piece, and I'm going to turn it over to Chris to go into a little more detail for the staffing model itself and program eligibility. But I think one of the things that makes this program unique and why we're so excited about this program is it really leverages all of the things that we've succeeded with so far at Health and Hospitals and all of the things that we do every day that we'll be able to bring this program into. So we already have things like virtual express care. We already have our Street Health Outreach and Wellness program, which has been a huge success in connecting people that have been unconnected to care into care going forward. We have mobile crisis teams, critical time intervention teams. We have our Housing for Health team. So you could sort of view this as we already are providing 60% of all of the clinical care for behavioral health in New York City today. We have all of these teams that we could leverage to make sure that the site will be successful. And we're putting that puzzle piece, which we're really good at, with the additional puzzle piece to create that synergy of the right clinical care at the right time for the right population of people with the right housing immediately and connecting them to the right housing permanently. So with that, I'm going to turn to Chris to talk more about the staffing model.
So thanks, Ted. So on the staffing model, what we're looking at for the site to handle that 24/7 coverage is we're looking at a psychiatric provider that is going to be able to provide care to these patients, to these guests throughout their length of stay. We're going to have social workers. Importantly, we're going to have peers who have lived experience in mental health to provide support. So they're going to be able to help provide support on things like getting the guests doing their laundry, walking down to the laundromat, thinking about sort of some of those basic activities to help them be more prepared for living independently or in supportive housing when they ultimately leave the site. We're going to have 24/7 nurse coverage, occupational therapists, and then psychiatric technicians as well as security guards. We're going to have probably 2 security guards being able to round through the building, having a presence outside, as well as psych techs on site. So you see here the eligibility specifics. Ted walked through or mentioned a few of these as we went. What we're looking at here for this first location, single adults 18 years and old or over, identify as male. They've completed that inpatient stay and been stabilized at a Health and Hospitals facility within the last year, diagnosed with an SMI. They've been referred by an H&H behavioral health clinician. As you said, that these would be folks that are likely to be experiencing homelessness or housing instability at discharge. And they may have had multiple engagements with outpatient treatment and social services following hospital discharge in the past. So that's an important piece to this. We're looking for folks that, in particular, that have had challenges engaging post-discharge in the past, where we think that this sort of particular mix of services and supports that we're going to offer here might help to break that cycle. We are looking for folks that are going to be able to perform their basic activities of daily living, and as Ted had said, folks that have agreed to participate, patients that have agreed to come stay with us and participate in the programming. The outcomes we're looking to achieve here provide a home-like environment for patients, increase engagement in outpatient mental health and or substance use disorder treatment, decreasing unnecessary ED visits and hospitalizations, and reduce shelter entry and street homelessness. Really, again, trying to break that cycle of street homelessness, coming into inpatient, even sometimes going into Rikers and being involved in the criminal justice system. What we're hoping to do here is create this offering for these guests where we can provide this intensive service for this period of time and help them transition out into supportive housing. So for the specifics of what we're asking the committee for today for this agreement is we're looking to occupy the entire Hudson River Hotel at 442 West 36th Street in Manhattan. We're looking at a 3-year base lease that would commence upon execution with 2 additional 1-year options available solely at the discretion of H&H. Our base rent would be $185 per room per night for the first 3 years and escalate to $190 per room in the option years, and option years 4 and 5, should we choose to exercise that. The system has the right to terminate at its convenience on 180 days notice, including right from the jump. We don't have a waiting period before we're able to exercise that termination notice. That's an important provision here, especially as we get the program going right out of the gate. We wanted to make sure that we had that sort of flexibility. There's no payment for rooms that cannot be used due to the landlord's fault. If they're unable to fix the toilets, unable to fix the shower, something along those lines, and the guest isn't able to use that room, we're not paying for it. The landlord will provide cleaning, linen, and bedding services, which sort of think of as traditional hotel services that they might provide in that context. This is a new hotel. It's not been previously used during COVID or during the HERC operations. The site did come to us after it had been vetted by Department of Homeless Services as a site that would be suitable for this sort of population. Clinically, this is going to be licensed under Bellevue and an operational partnership between Central Office and Bellevue. As Ted mentioned, we're going to have 46 guest rooms of the 56. The other 10 are going to be used for administrative purposes, treatment rooms, clinical rooms, a staff break room in one instance. And Ted walked through the pricing at the very beginning, but again, what we're looking for is a base rent over a potential 5-year term would be $19.1 million with $250,000 for potential additional expenses for a total NTE of $19.361 million. Thank you. Happy to answer any questions or address any thoughts.
Frida.
Not, again, another great program. So this would be the first under Bridge to Home, is that right?
Correct.
Yeah, so great. We missed seeing you guys.
Good to be back.
So,
We missed
nice
you
to
too.
You're on a new program, so it's a great one. Now I forgot my question. Oh, well, first just on the what the hotel is providing. It's just the cleaning and like the room keep things. There's no food. They're not doing food and.
Correct. We will handle all of that. They're
Okay.
providing linens, towels, maintenance, electricity, all of the infrastructure, but we're providing all of the, in effect, all the other services, including food, like you mentioned.
And just to emphasize, I think one of the reasons why, again, we're excited to do this new project is it really does leverage our experience at Health and Hospitals of running the COVID hotels, then the humanitarian hotels, and now building out this site sort of brick by brick for the special population that we're going to be serving.
And the, my other question, I did have one more, but I don't remember what it was. Well, one thing just on the outcomes, which is great, and I heard all the statistics that you gave us, Ted, which I love that data. So is it possible, will we be tracking sort of the outcomes of Bridge to Home as we go forward, so you have
Yep.
yeah.
Exactly, and I think for the outcomes, we traditionally, starting with Housing for Health, but also with our safety net clinics, have tracked outcomes like, as I said, emergency department use, inpatient stays, even inpatient days. And this will be tracking those same outcomes, but the additional one on top of that would be seeing the impact we could have on reducing street homelessness together.
I don't have any other questions.
I don't have a specific question on it, but I just wanted I'll ask you later, which is connected to the social work aspect of it and sort of like, what are the, I see the clinical side, I see the housing side, but then I'm trying to understand more like how do you keep people engaged in something meaningful, whatever that means, recreation, jobs, volunteer opportunities, working with the community, community partners, that's sort of like that part. So,
Yeah.
and because I'm trying to move the agenda here, I'll talk to you about it.
No problem. Many thoughts. Sounds good.
Thank you. Okay, let's take.
I just feel like we're excited about the program.
Yes, we are, we are.
Thank you.
DSS team is excited, so,
You've been a great partner, and we really appreciate
Yes.
it.
yeah, thank you. SFU.
Okay, let's take it up for a vote. All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, say no. Resolution approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Authorizing New York City Health and this is authorizing New York City Health and Hospitals Corporation to execute a standby job order contracts with Volmar Construction and VA Global Construction as the contractors to provide general contracting services on an as-needed basis, each for the amount not to exceed of $10 million, with a total of $20 million for a term of 2 years for both contracts. And with that, I'll hand it over to Menji.
Thank you. So, job order contracts are awarded via public bid, and they're based on an itemized catalog of services that are used to establish the base bid for the work orders that are generated against the master contract. The current general contracting contracts began in January 24 and will expire at the end of this year. The two current vendors are BA Global and Gemco, and as you can see, both were awarded $10 million contracts, and we've spent about 3.9 with BA Global and $7 million with Gemco. Next slide, please. So this is the procurement. Public bids were opened on June 3rd of this year for two contracts, each for $10 million, to provide general contracting services to the system. Both contracts will be for a 2-year term. The first was awarded to Volmar Construction, and the second to BA Global. Next slide. So this is the utilization plan for both vendors. BA Global is a certified MWBE, so 100% of their spend will be attributed to MWBE spend. Volmar is committed to a 30% MWBE spend with the 3 subcontractors shown on the table below. Next slide, and this is the budget. Both contracts are 10 million NTE for a total of 20 million NTE. Both vendors have a good rating for the work that they've done for the system. And lastly, the resolution. Happy to take any questions. Yes.
I have a quick one. Jose,
Questions?
what's the GC1 and GC2? Are
It's
they
just a
different
distinction for
scopes
the
of
bids,
work?
because we do 2 separate bids for the 2 contracts. So it's not one bid and we award 2 vendors within
Right.
that bid. We have separate bids. So GC1 is the first bid, GC2 is the second
But
bid.
is there like a different scope of work?
No,
in
same scope of work.
Oh, so I'm just curious why the multipliers were so different,
So
particularly the GC2. I mean, I guess it doesn't matter because the scope of work was the same, but like.
sometimes you have bidders that bid on both contracts. So they know they're going to get one, and they may adjust their multiplier for the other one based on a higher multiplier in case they're the lowest one on that and not the lowest one on the other one.
But do you award them sequentially, or they have to bid at the same time?
They have to bid at the same time.
Right, so they
Bids
don't
are-
necessarily.
No, they don't know.
Yeah.
Like they don't see the first one open. Like, okay, let me adjust my bids.
Right,
No,
right.
no, they don't do that.
Yeah,
So they're both open at the same time, and the bids are submitted at the same time, and no one gets to see any opening before they can submit the second.
so the second,
Yeah.
right, okay. It's just interesting how much it jumped in the second one, yeah, okay. Guess that's the nature of the role. Thank you.
Okay, so we're voting on the Volmar and BA Global Construction contract. All in favor, please say yes.
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 Opposed, say no. So resolution approved. Next. No, yes.
Okay. Authorizing New York City Health and Hospitals Corporation to execute a contract with JRM Construction Management to undertake a gut renovation of New York City Health and Hospitals South Brooklyn's Health Main Building to create a new ambulatory care center by repurposing the former emergency department space for a contract amount of $16,582,022 with a 10% contingency of $1,658,202 to bring the total project, the total cost to not exceed $18,240,224. A little bit of background relative to this project. Next slide, please. Healthcare is rapidly changing its focus to ambulatory care, particularly on growth with primary care. New York City Health and Hospitals South Brooklyn Health currently offers primary care, orthopedics, podiatry, x-ray, and urology services at locations scattered throughout the hospital campus. Renovation of the first floor of the main building will will be to relocate, expand, and modernize and consolidate ambulatory care services into a single location on the campus. The proposed ambulatory care center will be housed on the first floor in a space previously occupied by the emergency department, which was relocated to the Ruth Bader Ginsburg building to ensure continuity of patient care during the construction. This will be a full gut renovation of the area, including the replacement of all existing HVAC system, electrical distribution, and plumbing systems to ensure the new space is compliant with current code. And with that, I'll hand it over to our Director of Design and Construction, Kelly Burns.
Good morning. The construction scope of the new ambulatory care centre will be demolition of the vacant space on the first floor of the main building, renovation of approximately 25,000 square foot, and replacement of all mechanical, plumbing, electrical, and interior finishes, including new walls, ceilings, floors, doors, and fixtures. The new layout will create 48 exam rooms, which will be shared among the primary care, orthopedics, urology, and podiatry services, 2 treatment rooms for urodynamics, 2 x-ray rooms, and a cast room. All services will share the following support spaces: consultation rooms, equipment rooms, clean supply and soil utility rooms, care stations that will be spread throughout the floor, staff workstations, centralized storage, and secured medication dispensers. The new ambulatory care centre will have direct access from the street to make patient drop-off easier. Next slide. And this is the layout of the future new ambulatory care service. Next slide. This is some renderings of the future waiting areas with patient check-ins on the side booths. Next slide. And this is future care stations, which we will have 5 throughout the space. I'll pass it to Mensch.
Yep. Thank you, Kelly. So a quick overview of the procurement. Back in April of this year, this was posted to City Record. Site tours were conducted on the 14th and 15th of April. 21 contractors attended the site visits. The bid due date was June 4th. 12 bids were received, and when the bids were opened, JRM Construction Management was the lowest responsive and responsible bidder. Next slide. So this is the construction contract. It's approximately $16.5 million. JRM is new to the system, but we did perform reference checks on 3 prior jobs, and they all came back positive. The job is scheduled to begin in the fall of 2025 and expected to be completed in spring of 2027. And JRM has a 32% MWBE goal with the 2 subs listed in the table below. This is the project budget. It has a 10% contingency of approximately $1.6 million for a total not to exceed of approximately $18.2 million. And this is the resolution. Thank you, and happy to take any questions.
Any questions? That's great, yeah. Okay, let's take it for a vote. All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, say no. Resolution approved. Thank you.
Thank you. Final resolution today is authorizing New York City Health and Hospitals Corporation to extend the contract term by 1 year with 7 construction management firms, consulting firms, namely ACOM, USA Inc., Arman Corporation, Gilbane Building Companies, Jacob Project Management, McCazick and McCazick, CDX Construction Company, the McLeod Group LLC, to provide professional CM services on an as-needed basis at various facilities throughout the system. And Menchi will take us through our final presentation.
So we require these contracts to provide construction management services for the capital projects that we have. They act as owners' reps, and they're there ensuring the project stays on schedule and the scope is completed as per the contract. We have current contracts in place that expire at the end of this year. The board approved these contracts initially in November of 2020, and then subsequently we came back and the board approved an NTE increase from $10 million to $50 million in March of 2022. The pool overall value is $50 million. Current spend is $26.7 million approximately, and we have 5 years. These contracts were executed for 5 years, 3 base years and 2 one-year options for renewal. So we're seeking a 1-year approval to allow us to continue to spend down in the NTE that we have while we work to issue a new RFP for these services. And as you can see, the table shows the vendors that have spent, the ratings are good and excellent. And this is the resolution.
Any questions from committee members? Hearing none, let's take it up. Go ahead.
The McKissick and McKissick, is that no rating because you have not?
We have not assigned any work to them.
Okay.
And the assignment of work is just based on,
It's kind of a mini RFP, so we put out the proposal to the pool, they submit proposals, and then we select based on the criteria for that particular work order.
okay,
So McKissick have not been awarded, they haven't been selected as.
got it. All right, thank you.
Okay, take it up for a vote. All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, say no. So resolution approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any old or new business from members of the committee to come before the committee? Hearing none, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
This meeting is no longer being recorded.